evening and welcome to the Cop Table podcast, where tonight we are previewing the Leicester versus Liverpool game this coming Boxing Day. Top of the table clash, isn't it, boys? And joining me tonight for Leicester side of things, we have Pete Selby. Pete runs the For Fox's Sake Leicester podcast and been a guest with us previously on the Cop Table a few times now, haven't you, Pete? How are you, mate?
Yeah, been on a few times. I'm really good, even though the last few performances ain't been quite up to scratch after a club record winning sequence. But, hey, can't complain, can you? Second in the league, going into Christmas. Well, second in the league on Christmas Day. There can only be one team who's better than that.
Yeah, that's right. And they're coming to town this Boxing Day, aren't they? So joining us as well for Liverpool, we have Jay Riley. You can catch Jay on the Radio City Fan Friday Talk Show at the Cop HQ on Twitter and regular with us on the Cop Table. So how are you, Jay?
Good, Peter. Looking forward to Christmas, the festive period, but also, the football, plenty of football all the time over Christmas as well. And, we start off, don't we, with a game against Leicester, top of the table clash, as you said before, and vitally important Liverpool get the 3 points.
Yeah, massive fixture coming up for both sides, really. And yeah, we're going to start off talking to Pete about Leicester before we move over to the Liverpool stuff. So, Pete, tell us a little bit about the previous performance against Manchester City. Obviously, 3-1 to City, but what was your thoughts on the game and how did Leicester perform in that one, please?
I think it was relatively straightforward, really. I think Man City played very well. I think Leicester slightly underperformed from what they have been doing recently. But you're talking about a side who are bookies' favourites to win the European Cup. They are one of the best sides in Europe. Yes, they've slightly underperformed in the Premier League this year, but only slightly. And they had a game plan against Leicester. They easily isolated our left back Ben Chilwell. They played Mahrez way out wide, and they just hung back Kevin De Bruyne on that right side to leave a gap between the two, and it meant that they had a lot of access to the right, and Mahrez had a great game, but Leicester didn't really turn up. They didn't really have any possession. They didn't really create any chances from building play in the Man City half. They scored a typical, as you would say, Leicester goal, brilliant goal by the most informed striker, well, one of the most informed strikers, you'd have to say, in Europe, in Jamie Vardy. And a thoroughly deserved win from Man City. 3-1, it could have been 4 or 5. Thankfully, it wasn't. On top of a draw against Norwich, which there was one or two possible errors by the manager in terms of playing the wrong formation and making 2 substitutions to change the formation against Norwich to how he wanted or maybe should have played at the start. And that's by Rodgers' own admission as well after the game. And also substitution Iñárritu after that strange incident with instead of giving the ball back to the goalkeeper, as you may remember. A bit of a strange thing to do immediately after scoring a goal as well. Normally you get a guy who's going to come onto the field of play after a goal is scored. Normally they get told to sit back down just to give it a couple of minutes. That didn't happen. So there's a few question marks, but I don't think really any of them have any effect on the game against Liverpool. So a club record in the Premier League, 8 wins on the bounce, second in the league even after the draw against Norwich and the defeat to Man City. So you can't complain at all. 10 points behind Liverpool. I don't think it would have any basis whatsoever on what happens on Boxing Day. I really don't. I think the team are going to be fully prepared for that. I think they're going to play the way that they like to at home. I think they're going to start with the formation and the team that Rodgers wants rather than what's happened in the previous games that makes any difference. I think it would just be the Leicester that we've seen. Whether that's good enough to beat Liverpool, we'll wait and see. But I think the question marks going into the game are more on the Liverpool side of things in terms of the fact that they've been abroad and played in these Club World Cup Championships. I think that's the more of a question mark. Whether that has any bearing in the game, it will probably be early on in the first 20 minutes, whether Leicester be able to get in front or take advantage of any sloppiness or kind of lack of Premier League match sharpness by Liverpool. Whether that comes into account, we just don't know. I think it's going to be an amazing game. And do I think it's going to have anything kind of bearing on the season? Probably not in terms of Leicester, because I don't think they are title challengers. We maybe might have to readdress that if anything happens in the next few months. But I think it's an important game nonetheless. But I think the first 20 minutes will really bear a huge factor on what happens in the remainder of the game.
Great stuff. Thanks, Pete, for your insight there into the last game for Leicester and thoughts, which we will get some more thoughts towards the fixture on Boxing Day shortly. But Jay, just gonna go back over our past couple of games. Well, first of all, Watford, and then we're going to go on to the World Club Cup. So just give us your thoughts on the Watford performance, please, Jay.
Yeah, going into the game, I did say, didn't I, on the previous podcast, that I expected it to be a tough game, pure and simply because Liverpool potentially might have had one eye on the Club World Cup, and also the fact that Watford really had just changed manager, and Nigel Pearson, we all know what he's all about. He used to manage Leicester, and he's got them well drilled, and that's what I expected from them. I mean, I do think they're in a little bit of a false position. I think they've got some very good players, as I touched on the last podcast. I mean, Decore and Kapua in the middle of the park are monsters, and Delafeu, who's a very dangerous player, as we've seen at Anfield the other week, and also Troy Deeney had returned to the side as well, who's a battering ram up front. So I fully expected it to be tough, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, going into the game, you're seeing plenty of Liverpool fans on social media saying, let's play the same team that played against Everton in the derby and make 5 or 6 changes. And there's just not a chance that Liverpool were going to make that many changes because, like, look at this now. We've had a 12-day gap before our next Premier League game, and it was vitally important to get the 3 points. And Liverpool had to dig in. Make no mistake, Watford done very well in the game, and they had quite a few chances, really, didn't they? And Mo Salah had to score a fantastic goal in the first half, and then right to the death, really, with a flick that went in through the defender's legs. And 2-0 probably flattered us, really, to an extent, because I thought Watford gave a very good account of themselves, and they're fighting for their lives. And it didn't surprise me in the slightest that they've then now gone on to beat Manchester United as well, because we all know it's a very poor Manchester United team, probably the worst United team in our lifetime. And, the stats will back that up as well for the last 30 years. And, yeah, they might have beat Man City recently, and they might also have beaten Spurs, but them type of teams suit United because they also got a point against Liverpool because they can soak up the pressure and hit teams on a counter-attack. When they play against the lesser teams, that's when United tend to struggle because we all know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's clueless and he's totally out of his depth. But, as regards Watford, I think they'll be fine. I really do. I think they were just going through the motions really under Kike Sanchez Flores. I don't think really the players were playing for them, and they had to make the change, and Nigel Pearson will keep them honest. And I think that's a vital 3 points, really, when you think about it, because they might have been bottom of the table, but as we've just touched on there, they've just gone on to win a game as well. So I think they'll be fine. I think that was a big 3 points because it gave Liverpool that buffer then going to Qatar to win the World Club Cup. So, it was a great result, all things considered.
Yeah, and then we moved on to the World Club Cup in Qatar, didn't we? Played Monterrey in the semi-final, and then moved on to the final against Flamengo. And Jurgen Klopp did chop and change a little bit, didn't he? He sort of rested quite a few of the big hitters, if you like, for the first game, and brought them back for the final. The likes of Trent and Bobby Firmino all came on late, didn't he? Virgil van Dijk, another one who didn't play against Monterrey. But yeah, to come away from that tournament now, Jay, with the World Club Cup champions of the world. A lot of fans are saying things like that, but obviously it's not a competition familiar with a lot of people. But how important is this for the history of the club moving forward, having the title of this World Club champions?
Well, yeah, it's great because it's a trophy that Liverpool have never ever won in our history. So thankfully we have now, and now we're the world champions, not only European champions but the world champions. And it's massive, really, as a global thing for Liverpool. And like I say, it's one of them things where we had to sacrifice the Carabao Cup for it, but the prestige involved in winning this tournament is a lot bigger than winning the Carabao Cup, and it's also financially better for Liverpool as well. So, I do think it's a big thing, and in years to come, this is going to get bigger and bigger because the tournament sort of like expands, doesn't it, next year, and Liverpool are going to be in it again as well, aren't they? So it's going to be more teams involved in it. So, I think that it's a massive thing for Liverpool to win it. It's classified as a major trophy. We've now gone 47 to 45 over Manchester United as the most successful club in England as well. And it's just good to be winning trophies. I mean, we've been starved of it for so long. I think it was 6 years. Now all of a sudden we've just won 3 in the space of 6 months, and it breeds confidence, doesn't it, moving on forward into this season where we're hoping that we can win the Premier League. And people will say, yeah, it's the first ever Premier League, but we've been champions of the country 18 times, haven't we? It's, football wasn't invented in 1992 the way some of the Sky Sports fans like to say it. The likes of United and Chelsea and Arsenal fans, Man City fans like to give a stick over it. But the fact of the matter is we've won it 18 times, and hopefully this season it's going to be 19. And it'd be great to win the Premier League. Of course it will, because we've waited such a long time, 30 years, which has been far too long. And all the evidence now is that Liverpool are massive favourites to win it. We shouldn't really blow it from here. But, last season we had a little bit of a gap as well, and it just didn't happen. But first and foremost, we got this trophy on board to add to the Super Cup. So it's been a very good start to the season, no doubt about that. And, when you analyse the 2 games that we had in Qatar, I mean, the first game, inevitably he was going to make changes. He was going to make, a few, the squad players were going to play, shall we say, and Virgil van Dijk took ill, didn't he, before that game against the Mexicans? And, you look at it and think Jordan Henderson's never played centre-half in his life, and he had to fill in, and I thought he'd done quite well there, to be fair. But, at times the defence did look a little bit ropey, and it's to be expected because we also had Milner playing at right back, didn't we, as well? So, it wasn't ideal, and they did cause us a few problems, and I thought they were quite physical, really, and they weren't quite as bad as what we expected because, it did take an injury time winner from Bobby Firmino. We had to bring the cavalry on, didn't we, really? Firmino come on, Mane come on, Trent Alexander-Arnold came on, and, 2 of them players combined for the winning goal. And thankfully we got to the final because, you don't want to be travelling all that way for this competition, 7-hour journey, and, to compete in it. You want to win it. So the fact of the matter is Liverpool got to the final, thankfully, and we were up against the Brazilians, Flamengo, and all the talk was that this is the best team to come out of Brazil for 30, 40 years. So they had high hopes for it. In years gone by in this competition, Real Madrid and Barcelona have swept the board. I think Real Madrid have won it 4 times and Barcelona have won it 3 times, if I'm right in saying. Manchester United are the only other English team to have won it now, obviously Liverpool as well, but this was a very, very tough Flamengo team, Brazilian side, and they had a few players there that we all knew from the European days. Rafinha had played for Barcelona. You'd also had Felipe Luis, who had a good career at Atletico Madrid. He had a spell at Chelsea, which didn't work out for him, but they've also got the forward Gabigol up front, who's been he's an Inter Milan player, isn't he? But scores goals for fun for Flamengo. But I just thought going into the game, I was expecting it to be obviously goals galore, chances galore, but it was a very tight, cagey game. I mean, Liverpool should have took the lead early on. Firmino missed an absolute sitter, didn't he? And then Keita had a really good chance, and Alexander-Arnold had a chance. Then after that, Liverpool struggled, I thought, at times, and the Brazilians done really well, but what you got to analyse was there was a lot of dirty tricks going on. There were little cheap fouls and tactical fouls here and there, as you probably would expect. And the referee was an absolute disgrace. I mean, the game was far too big for him. And what epitomised it for me was the decision right at the end where Sadio Mane goes through. And okay, fair enough, it may well have just been outside the box, but it's a clear foul. He goes to check VAR after giving the penalty initially. And then not only does he overrule the penalty decision, it should really then have been a free kick to Liverpool and a sending off for Rafinha. And what does he do? He gives a drop ball. I mean, what was that all about? I mean, if anything, it should have been a goal kick if he didn't think there was a foul, because Mane has hit the ball out of play. So it was just shambolic refereeing, really. And he bought everything. He fell for absolutely everything that they'd done. There was an incident on Jordan Henderson in the second half where the fella's got his arm round his neck, pulled him to the ground. It's a 100% penalty. Should have been checked by VAR. Wasn't checked, and they got away with one. It was a shambles, really. The referee, and if they want clubs to take this tournament seriously, then they need to sort out the officiating of it, because I thought it was a shambles, really. But Liverpool's superiority shown through in the end, and thankfully, after Firmino missed the sitter in the first minute, he also had a chance at the start of the second half where he hit the inside of the post. But thankfully, he redeemed himself in extra time and scored a very good goal. And Liverpool really saw the game out very well. And, we're the world champions now, and it's fantastic.
Great stuff. Cheers, Jay. Okay, then back over to you then, Pete. Just going to ask you a little bit about Leicester's home form, if you like. The previous result obviously was a 1-1 draw against Norwich, and then they went away to Manchester City. But I was just looking at Leicester's form. Does it seem that they're more suited their style of play to play in away games where they can hit teams on the counter attack, they can use the pace, they can catch teams on the break, where at home they seem to be a little bit more conservative, if you like, and wait for teams to sort of they take the lead, should I say, and try and get at teams first, and teams hit them on the break then. So how do you see Leicester's form, and do you think they are more suited to playing away from home at the moment?
In an ideal world, that's how you would label this Leicester side. But I don't think it really counts when you're playing against a side like Liverpool, because Liverpool are going to have a lot of possession. They're going to have a lot of play, but also that will then play into Leicester's hands in a way because of the counter-attacking style that you mentioned. When we won the league a few years ago, it was all about the counter-attack, sitting back, being very narrow, letting teams get the ball into the box, and we can head it clear through Hoof and Morgan. Leicester have developed. Yes, we've still got Vardy up front, and the game against Man City showed how still we're probably the best counter-attacking side in the Premier League through having Jamie Vardy up front. But when a team like Liverpool come to the King Power, it all changes. When we're playing against a lower league opposition, they tend to sit, and then it's Leicester's impetus to try and break them down, and that's where we can kind of falter compared to the bigger teams like, say, Liverpool and Man City, for example, who have got the players to break down a side who are sitting. And we've tried to develop that and trying to work on that through signing a few players like Ayoze Perez, for example, prime example of a player bought to break down a side who are sitting back. But when Liverpool come to town, it's slightly different because they have a lot of the play as well. So it turns into a more even kind of game. So I don't think the counter-attack style will be automatically employed by Leicester. I think Leicester in the first 20 minutes especially will try and possibly take advantage of maybe Liverpool being slightly sluggish through being away for, as we've heard, their exploits over in Doha, in Qatar, etc. And I think that's what they'll try and do, to try and get a foothold in the game, to try and get in front as well, and really take advantage of what possibly might be a sluggish Liverpool start. That might not happen. You never know. Liverpool might come flying out of the blocks and go, look, we'll try and take the game to Leicester, and we'll see what happens from then on. We know that Liverpool can obviously break with the quick forwards that they've got, the probably best three forwards in world football in a club side. But I think it will be a very interesting first 20 minutes. I can't see Leicester playing any other way apart from having their traditional formation at home. Would be a flat back four with Ndidi sitting, and then you have Tielemans just behind three players, either what will probably be Barnes, Maddison, and then Perez on the right with Vardy up top. That might change. I've got half an inkling that they will play Albrighton in this game just to kind of nullify or try and half nullify the Liverpool right side through Trent Alexander-Arnold getting forward and having someone like Albrighton who can drop back and give assistance to the fullback and also then cause problems going forward. I think on the other side, it will be very interesting because I can't see Leicester changing any way, shape or form what they would do. So Robertson will get forward, as you guys know he will do for Liverpool. But I think Leicester will also possibly kind of accept that in a way, because I think you've got the best two sets of fullbacks in the Premier League playing here, the best two for Liverpool, and probably numbers two on each side for Leicester, Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira. And I think Leicester might actually accept Robertson getting forward and maybe giving him a little bit of space, which obviously is dangerous, but having then Pereira the ability to go forward and really attack. He's a fabulous fullback, absolutely tremendous fullback. He's a winger turned fullback. And getting forward, he is as good as a winger as you would kind of get in the Premier League, and yet he is playing in the fullback position and a very competent defender that he is. But I think that'll be interesting how the two wings play. I think Leicester might go defensive on Chilwell's side on the left side, and then Chilwell can make those overlapping runs, as we know we can do for club and country. But on the right, I think Leicester might take a risk and say, look, we'll try and get forward and push Ricardo beyond maybe the runs of Robinson and maybe take a slight risk. So it'll be very interesting. I can't see any massive difference to the Leicester side, apart from really giving this a go early on and seeing if they can possibly catch Liverpool cold. Whether that's the case, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, like you say, it's got to be very interesting to see how both managers line up the teams tactically, isn't it? With like you say, with the fullbacks both like to bomb on, and whether they might rein them in slightly. It's like you say, it's going to be fascinating to see what both managers do. But Jay, just going over to yourself, we can touch on a couple of the points that Pete made there. But first of all, our injury situation. Obviously, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain picked up an injury, didn't he, out in Qatar, and I think he's definitely going to be ruled out for the game, isn't he? We've also got Matip Lovren and Gini Wijnaldum, who have all been on the sidelines recently. So, given the fact that they're likely not to play, how do you see Jurgen Klopp lining up with this one? Do you think he's going to make a few changes, or is it full strength? How do you see it?
Well, I think he's got to go full strength, because you've got to show the respect to Leicester being second place in the Premier League. So I know we've just played, literally there's a 5-day gap, isn't he, from the final against Flamengo on Saturday to this game on Boxing Day against Leicester. But, you know, the respect's got to be there, and we've got to go full strength of what's available. To be honest with you, I think the team that started in the final is probably, regardless of, you know, anything else about fatigue and all that, because this is such a big game, providing everyone's fit, other than Oxlade-Chamberlain, who started the game, I think you'll find that the other 10 are going to start the game, really. And it's going to be interesting to see if Gini Wijnaldum is going to be back fit, available for it, because he did make the bench in the final on Saturday, but whether or not he will be deemed fit and available to start the game at Leicester is another matter. But if he is, then I think that'll just be the change. Wijnaldum will come into the side for Oxlade-Chamberlain, but we don't know yet, do we, how bad he is or how fit he is to start the game. You know, you've got to analyse it and think Liverpool did mix it up a little bit, because in the semi-final against Monterrey, we didn't play everyone. I mean, Mane had a little bit of a rest, Firmino had a little bit of a rest, Trent Alexander-Arnold had a bit of a rest, and obviously Virgil van Dijk missed that game as well. So, you know, a 5-day gap, it should be ample time. I know you've got to factor in the travelling and the time difference, because I think it was 3 hours difference, wasn't it, in Qatar, and, you know, obviously a 7-hour flight's not ideal, but I think, you know, what they'll do now is they've probably had a little bit of rest time. They'll enjoy Christmas, won't they, Christmas Eve, but they will train on Christmas Day. And obviously then we've got this massive game against Leicester, because, you know, let's be honest about it, with 10 points clear of Leicester, 11 points clear of Man City, and we've got a game in hand on both of them, really, haven't we? And if Liverpool can go to Leicester on Boxing Day and get the 3 points, it's absolutely huge on this march to winning the Premier League title. Make no mistake about it, because we play before Man City play again. They played the 27th away to Wolves, which is a very tough game as well, and I think they drew there last season, and, you know, they're a very good side, Wolves, aren't they? I think they're 6th at the moment, and, the big dangers really to Man City. They could easily drop points there. So Liverpool put even more pressure on their game. It's absolutely massive if we can get the 3 points. So yeah, it's not great at the minute with the injuries, I have to admit. I mean, Matip's out, Lovren's out. We were all a bit concerned when Van Dijk was ill because we were thinking, is he genuinely ill or has he got a knock? No one was too sure where and Oxlade-Chamberlain being out now is another headache because Fabinho's missed the whole of December so far, hasn't he? And it's been a blow, and some might say we haven't really missed them, but we've tweaked the system a little bit at times in certain games, and we've seen a few of the squad players come into their own, really. I mean, Naby Keita's been fantastic, hasn't he? Scored 3 in his last 4 games, been superb, really. Showed a lot of the signs of why Liverpool spent £52 million on him. The jury's been out on him, really. He's been at the club 18 months and not really shown a great deal, being a bit stop-start, hasn't it, with injuries, and hasn't really learned the language very well yet. And, he's yet to settle properly, but there's positive signs, isn't he, with the form that he's been in, and let's hope he can continue with that, because we're really going to need him, because you analyse it now with Oxlade-Chamberlain looking like he's going to face a spell on the sidelines. Fabinho probably won't be back for another 2 or 3 weeks maybe, so you're looking at James Milner, Adam Lallana, Jordan Henderson, who he's another one really. Even though he's the captain, he doesn't tend to play 3, 4, 5, 6 games on the spin because they try and manage him, really, don't they? And he's played a lot of football lately, and he did also have to fill in at centre half, as I said before, in the semi-final game against Monterrey. So Liverpool are probably going to have to go full strength in this game. There's no two ways about it. Leicester are second in the table for a reason. The form's dropped off a little bit. Disappointing draw at home against Norwich, which I seen quite a bit of that game, to be honest, and I thought Norwich would go value for the point, really, to tell you the truth. The game against Man City, I don't know too much about it because obviously it was at the same time as the Liverpool final against Flamengo in the Club World Cup final, so I haven't seen too much about it. But to be honest, going into the game, I did expect Man City to win because I do respect Leicester and they've had a very good start to the season. There's no doubt about that. They've got some very good players. But in my opinion, I still think Man City are the biggest dangers for this title. And for Liverpool to be 11 points clear of them with a game in hand, potentially could go 14 clear on Boxing Day. I think it's absolutely massive. And they are still a massive team for Liverpool to sort of fend off, if you like, because we all know they're capable of going 10, 12, 15 games unbeaten. In fact, just win 15 on the spin. They're more than capable of doing it. And Liverpool have had a fantastic start. Only dropped points in 1 game away to Manchester United. So, you can't really envisage Liverpool mirror imaging that, if you like, the second part of the season. We're going to go through spells where we might drop points, we might draw a few games, we might even lose a game or two. It's just natural that it's probably going to happen because Liverpool's injury list now is mounting up. So this game on Boxing Day is absolutely huge because if Liverpool can get the 3 points, it puts the pressure on City. They've got a tough game away to Wolves, and let's see where we're at then.
Okay, cheers, Jay. Right, okay, before we introduce the music to our listeners, what we're going to do, we're going to get a score prediction and your reasons for them, like we do on each podcast. So starting off with you, Pete, going to get your thoughts on a scoreline prediction and your reasons for that, please.
I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's. I think most people would kind of predict that in a way as well. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a high scoring draw. I'll tell you what, 3-3, which might not sound too bizarre come half an hour into the game, when I think it's going to be very open. I think Liverpool, as we just heard, it's a fantastic chance for them to go 14 points clear of Leicester. I still think the nearest rivals are Man City. I'm under no illusion that Leicester are still just going for that top 4 place. We'll wait and see what happens in the next few months. You never know. We might have to readdress that situation come, say, end of Feb or March. Who knows? But I still think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, very close. Both sides going for the victory. Leicester have got nothing to lose at all. A point would be great, but why not go for the victory? Liverpool exactly the same. Again, a point would be a good point, but again, go for the win. And on the back of drawing against Norwich, a disappointing result, which I think was absolutely, completely deserved for Norwich. I think Leicester didn't deserve to win the game at all. Second half, they were very poor. Coming back off the defeat away at Man City, where Man City were very good, and Leicester, again, slightly off the game. I don't think that will have any account into what happens here. I can see Leicester having a very good start, maybe going 1 or even 2 goals up early on. But I can see Leicester scoring goals against Liverpool. I can see Liverpool doing exactly the same to Leicester, just through having the quality of forwards that they've got, and just eventually breaking down, maybe later on in the second half, getting a goal back or 2, possibly. I can see it being 2-2 or 3-3. I'll go for the 3-3, being Christmas. Why not? Big scoreline and a fantastic game, and possibly even both sides leaving the King Power going, actually, I'll take that.
Wow, big scoreline prediction from Pete there, 3-3. So, yeah, cheers for that, Pete. We'll get Jay's thoughts now. Jay, just give us your scoreline prediction and your reasons for that, please.
Well, I'm looking back to the game when we played Leicester at Anfield, the start of October, and you knew you were in a game against a good side, good quality opposition, and that's what you'd expect when Brendan Rodgers, with a side managed by Brendan Rodgers, because we've seen it ourselves, didn't we, a few years ago. You know, he very nearly won Liverpool a league, really, and you know, I think he's certainly a manager who knows the time of day. He's been to Celtic and tasted success there, hasn't he, and won quite a lot of trophies. And, you know, he's gone to Leicester, and I think it's a good fit because they've got some very good players, and he likes to play football the right way, and he's got the personnel there to make it work. And I agree with what Pete was saying about the fullbacks. I mean, Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are absolutely sensational in the sense that they're like wingers because the amount of assists that they get, but they're also, well, certainly Andy Robertson's very good defensively. Trent Alexander-Arnold at times can get exposed, but he's getting better and better all the time. He's a bit younger, isn't he? He's 21, whereas Andy Robertson's 25 now. So, you know, his time will come. Trent's learning on the job all the time and getting better and better. His delivery is absolutely first class. And other than them two, though, you'd have to say Chilwell's fantastic left back. Probably the second best behind Robertson, and then also Ricardo Pereira on the other side. I agree with what he was saying. He's fantastic as well. I mean, I'm not sure about his defending either. I think he's decent, but he's probably a little bit like Trent in the sense that he's more of a winger who's converted to a right back as well. So very similar to Trent Alexander-Arnold in so many ways. But, you know, I just think when you analyse that game, for as good as Leicester done in terms of possession, they actually had about 2 shots in the whole game. And the goal that they scored through Maddison I thought it was poor goalkeeping by Adrian, to be honest, because it went right through him. It wasn't a great strike at all. It just went through him. Should have done a lot better. And really, they didn't threaten Liverpool at all in that game. It was all Liverpool, really. And Leicester played really well, don't get me wrong, in terms of possession, ball retention. But, you know, you've got to analyse the fact that Liverpool were in command really throughout most of the game. And I know some might say that we got a fortuitous penalty in injury time, but the fact of the matter is, Albrighton was silly really with his challenge. He kicked his standing leg and, you know, it's in the box, it's injury time, it's a penalty. Simple as that, really. There was no debate, in my opinion. All the uproar over it was a bit embarrassing, really, because it was a penalty all day long, and Liverpool really did deserve the 3 points in that game. And I just think maybe being at home, Leicester will show a little bit more, they'll create a little bit more as well. And you've got to factor in Liverpool's travelling that we've just had there, going to Qatar. Fatigue could come into play a little bit. You never know. But then there's also the fact that we should be very confident and buoyant as well. Because as I said before, when you're winning trophies, you know, success breeds confidence, doesn't it? And, you know, winning trophies, that's exactly what it does do. So, you know, you've got to consider Liverpool are going to be really on top of the world now, aren't they, going into this fixture? And with that thought process where we can go 13-14 clear of our nearest rivals with a game in hand, you know, what more of an incentive do they want? I mean, they're going to enjoy Christmas time now, but let's focus on this huge game of football. And I just look and think, you know, if Leicester got the tools to hurt us enough. And I think in Vardy, he's always done well against Liverpool. He's always been a thorn in our sides. And I totally respect them. They've got some really good players. But I just think Liverpool will outscore them. And I do think Leicester will score. But I just think Liverpool will score more. So on reflection and all things considered, I'm going to go for a 3-1 Liverpool away victory.
3-1 away victory For Jay, yeah, my own thoughts on the scoreline. Like both the lads have said, it's gonna be a tough game for both sides. But like Jay has just said there about Liverpool and their attacking prowess, I just think that Liverpool will have a little bit too much for Leicester in this game. I think that they're gonna want to try and keep another clean sheet as well. After Flamengo as well, when they was quite solid defensively. So I think it is going to be a very, very tight game, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 victory for Liverpool in this one. So we'll see how that goes on Boxing Day. Right, just before we go, lads, I'm just going to introduce the music by the artist that's been in touch with us on Twitter to the Cop Table this week. Goes by the name of BLVD B Main. He's based out in New York. He's an unsigned rap artist there. Going to put his Twitter handle onto our account with the podcast once it goes out. So the song I'm going to play for you tonight by B Main is Take Care.
Gotta get paid, gotta get laid, yeah. You know about the J's, you know about the flav, yeah. Stuck in our ways, trapped for a change, yeah. We know about the cane, we spell it with K's, yeah. Come from them grams, yeah. Tan the color, my rubber band, yeah. Pay me in cash, yeah. 20s fresh out the ATM, yeah. Got crossed at a young age, so I swore to God I wouldn't trust again. Now she told me she loved me, but after she loved on me, she was fucking him. What? I got in the streets, got in some beef, they know I'm busting if it come down to me or you know I gotta live. I got me some kids, I got me some family, I know I gotta chill. Slow down. PTSD, maybe the reason that I'm popping pills. I'm feeling alone, I'm feeling the guilt. One at home and one on my hip. That money be cool until it get real. Then everybody wanna find a way to jump ship. Got a little sleep with a 40 to grip. My cousin say I put their life in danger. That's the reason for the pistol sub and the stick. We don't need cable, we watching the cameras. Hardly getting sleep, I'm up pacing. Filling up clips while my mind just racing. Life been a movie, but Hollywood basic. Boulevard money, this ain't for the taking. Underground mob, no help from the label. I don't need you around me if your ass been faking. Everything good till they see what you raking. Throwing a couple dollars, don't focus what I'm making. It was too late, that love turned to hatred. I want the finer things in life, no basics. Settle for less, hell no, you crazy. They ain't asked to be here, I'm doing this for my babies. Jeans too strong, you can tell that I made them. They see my vids on YouTube, thinking that it made it. Wrap my sauce around the house, this feeling can't fake it. Saying if I don't blow, then the nigga still made it. Them dollars I gotta make it, yeah. Them chances I gotta take it, yeah. You know I'm grinding, baby. I gotta feed my babies. You know I take care of mine. That boulevard done fit us every time. Before the dudes, it was nicks and dimes. You staying broke or resort to crime. Them dollars I gotta make it, yeah. Them chances I gotta take it, yeah. You know I'm grinding, baby. I gotta feed my babies. You know I take care of mine. That boulevard done fit us every time. Before the dudes, it was nicks and dimes. You staying broke or resort to crime.
And that song was called Take Care from New York unsigned rap artist BLVD B Main. So thanks for him to getting in touch with us this week. Big thanks to the at Liverpool online Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages for putting out our podcasts on all their platforms. Thanks to the LFC Day Trippers, and also if you can follow the new Shed Media page, which is also putting the Cop Table podcast out on their platform as well now. And don't forget, as we say every week, keep up to date, very important, with the No More Knives campaign based in Merseyside with Paul Bentley and all the guys over there doing some fantastic work with the young people in the area. So yeah, keep up with the No More Knives campaign and keep on supporting the lads over there for us, please. So yeah, thanks very much, Jay and Pete, for your time. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, lads.
Yeah, really did. Fingers crossed. There's no tears when Chowdhury comes on and makes a tackle, but we'll skip over that.
About him.
Enjoy Christmas.
Cheers, Pete, and thanks a lot, Jay.
Yeah, all the best, lads. Hopefully it'll be a cracker, and enjoy your Christmas, and we look forward to a great game on Boxing Day between Leicester and Liverpool.
Brilliant stuff, yeah, and just like to echo them thoughts as well. Everybody who's listening, happy Christmas from all of us at the Cop Table. Have a good one, stay safe, and we'll be back with you for our Wolves podcast later on at the end of probably early next week, won't it? So thanks everybody for listening. That was the Cop Table preview of the Leicester versus Liverpool game. All done. Thanks everybody once again for listening, and speak to you all very soon. Goodbye.